Rack 'em up. Nothing better than getting a log all milled, stacked, and stickered. Here we go. Let's do it. Hey, hi, Glenn here, workshop at the Gardens, and I operate a small little sawmill where I salvage logs and turn them into lumber, but we need to get them dried. And be working by myself, it's a lot to be moving stacks of lumber around all over the place. So I've been working on this system that I call the Slabskids, and it's what I put all my cut lumber on so it can air dry before it hits the kilns. Anyways, let's take a look at what I'm doing. I am laying out the bottom part of the Slabskid. I've been doing these for about 4 years now, and I keep tweaking the design, and right now I'm pretty happy with it. This is what I'm making, the one I'm making right now. I call it 1030. It's 30 inches deep wide, and it's 10 feet wide, so pretty complicated there, 1030. You get it, Slabskids? All right. Somewhere along the line, I've started using screws, and I love screws more than nails. So probably could air nail it together, sure, wouldn't be a problem. I've always just screwed things together. Over trial and error, I found that 2-bys work the best for those long runs. I started out using some 1-bys, and they deformed and deflected a little bit. And when I first started, I was milling everything with a chainsaw, so I didn't make my own stickers, used just some 1-by pine. Here I am using nice little 1-inch pieces of red oak that I was able to mill. All right, that's the base. We're going to head on down to the log yard and the sawmill shed. Here we go. Yep, you don't need to say it. If you clean the whole place up, everything would be a heck of a lot easier. Well, I have a lot more fun milling logs than cleaning things up. The honest truth, which you always get from me, is the fact when you do something by yourself, everything just takes longer. There's not anybody to hand that off to. Hey, go pick that up. Hey, go stack that log up. Hey, go do that. And the reality is everything just takes a little bit longer when you're just doing it all by yourself. Hence why I created the Slabskid system. So once I stack it up, once it's stickered, I'm not moving individual pieces again. You'll see, actually saw at the beginning, you'll see at the end, just lift that whole skid up with the skid loader. The other thing that happens, and if you've been building your business, every time you have an efficiency increase in one part of the business, one part of what you're doing, everything down the whole chain, suffers. So when I added the sawmill, it was fantastic. I could cut lumber so much faster than with a chainsaw, but then that just means I needed to stack and sticker and clean things up. And as the process, as everything keeps building and growing, we're just going to get a whole heck of a lot better than that. All right, so there's a great video, the full-length video before this one, which shows this whole big ash log getting milled. It's one that I salvaged, and to my credit, yay, is this log came home, and I pretty much took it from the trailer right to the sawmill. So it's one of the first logs that I ever milled right when it got into the log yard. And as you can see, there's a few logs in the log yard that need milling. So it's nice not to have this one sitting around waiting to be milled. It's done and air drying, yay. All right, so I decided to use 1.5-inch stickers. Most of this log was milled at 12-quarter. A couple of them were milled at 10-quarter, but I'm putting 1.5-inch stickers, 6-quarter stickers in there. And what you see in that Slabskid, there's seven vertical sticker runs, as I call them. But on the bottom, I used 7 pieces of green treated 4x4 on purpose. Green treated. These are going to be stacked outside. and that's going to give me a little bit more longevity in the use of these skids. These are not one and done skids. I'm hoping to get 10 years, if not more, out of these skids. If I can turn a skid every 18 months, if not earlier than that, we should get a good life out of them. So that's why the green treated. The 4x4 also on purpose as you get something with a lot of weight. One of my initial ones, and this goes more from the landscaping world, pallets that are on 2x4s and on end have a tendency to roll over and crush onto themselves, and that's a world of hurt. Don't want that. So the 4x4 really can't roll at all, and then you get that whole vertical sticker run all the way from the top down to the ground, which is quite nice. Along the way, somebody used my skid loader and improperly used my skid loader and the forks that are on there and bent one of the forks a whole whopping, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch out of line. But believe me, that is a pain in the butt when you're trying to move things around and stack stuff up. When your forks get bent a little bit, don't let people use your stuff. Pretty simple. All right. It got to the point where I could get in there. Those slabs are fairly heavy, and I didn't have to move them around so much, so just by lifting them. So getting them onto the forks and then setting them up on the pallet, which is quite nice. And yes, you start to go through quite a few stickers. As I mentioned, every time you make that little efficiency increase, the next thing there. So what I've been doing now is trying to mill up a couple hundred stickers at a time and just try to match my milling output so I have enough stickers so I don't have to stop to put in stickers. Yes, you're going to tell me that, oh, you shouldn't use green stickers. They're not green. They've been air drying out there a little bit. No, they haven't been through the kiln. Everything that people will tell you that you have to do sounds great the first time when you're doing it. And I'll try to remember at some point where it came from, but somebody said, don't judge your chapter 1 by someone's chapter 20. Don't judge your chapter 5 by someone's chapter 1 or chapter 20. After these go through the kiln, all my stickers will be kiln dried, and there's not going to be that big of loss in quality of the lumber. Yeah, there you go again. See how much of a pain in the butt it is when your forks get bent a little bit. So it's probably a little bit more than a little bit, just trying to land that one on there. That's when you just want to stop and breathe, because you just want to just sit down. But anyways, there it is. Got it on there. We'll spin it around. That was the last slab that we set on there. There was a couple smaller pieces that I was going to cut and go in there. Great shot right there of when I talk about a vertical sticker run all the way down to the ground. You could just see them all lined up, and that's just going to help in the drying and keeping everything flat and straight. Last couple of pieces in there, and I think this skid is all done. How about that? There we go. Well, not quite all done. It's all ready for the next piece. There you go. Seeing all those vertical sticker runs all lined up and sitting on the base of the Slabskid quite nicely. All right, it's time to head back to the workshop and make the top part of the Slabskids. This is what I call the compression pallet. This goes on top, and this is what gets held all in there. Super simple little jig that I made. This is the I-beam section of the top compression. So it's made up of a couple pieces of 2x4, and then on top, the I-beam piece will have a 2x6. You'll see that shortly. That just lines them up really easy, so you can crank out those bottom pieces on there. Since it's a 1030 skid, we need a 10-foot compression pallet. So a couple 2x4s on the sides get us that 10 feet, and they're all measured out so they line up exactly with the vertical sticker runs. And that center piece is really important. I did one where I skipped that, and all of a sudden those flat pieces of 2x, it started to sag in there and give a little bit. When you have that, in essence, I-beam, H-beam, whatever you want to call it, in there, it makes it all stronger. You need that 2x4 on the outside. Those 10-foot, as you see, that's what will get strapped to. Screw it all the way down, nice 3 on each side. The 2x6 on top is pretty important because this whole system allows you to stack several Actually, I'm going to do 2 because it gets pretty high, but actual stack 2 Slabskids on top of each other. Little box elder bug going to go for a ride. All right, got to grab the skid loader and bring that down from the workshop. And that sets right on top. And you'll see right away that those little I-beam pieces line up right with the stickers, and it's nice and tight there. Straps. I like to use straps and put them down. I know there's a lot of people that's out there in the comments worlds like, oh, straps are so expensive. There's a couple thoughts on that. I pay about between $10 and $12 for a strap. If you remembered earlier in this video, I'm sure you did, that I was going to try to use these for 10 to 12 years. I have some straps back from the landscaping world that are 20 years old. So if these things last 10 years, which they will, we're talking $1 a year per strap, so $2 a year for these things. They're reusable, they're sustainable, and I'm not cutting anything up and sticking it in a landfill. Half the reason we're doing this, right? So I think it's a pretty good deal to use straps like this. Get them on there, hook them up, tie them in, and as you crank them down, sometimes that they don't level out. That's why you saw me tap it with the hammer a little bit to get it nice and flat, and there you go. Notice right there, I pointed it out. That is that deflection that I talk about. When you crank these things down, you get a fair amount of pressure on there. And when I was using 1x material, it would just deflect up. The 2x material gets it nice and hard. There we go. Well, thanks for stopping in and watching this one on the Slabskids. Check it out. There's a hashtag on Facebook and Instagram. You can see a little bit more about it. I'll put a couple videos here that'll be good to watch. Thanks so much for checking the video out. And until next time, enjoy.